So I want to talk about a topic. It's definitely a topic that is not easy, but very, very important. Probably one of the most important things in everyone's life, but in particular, young adults, people my age. I'm currently 24, and that's how to be confident and how to be happy. And I think those two things really go hand in hand. And I almost put them in the same category, but because it's very hard not to be happy, not being happy when you're confident. And it's also, I guess the other way it doesn't work as much, but to me those two go hand in hand. And so I want to talk about, and I'm definitely not, I don't have the answers to everything, but I want to just show you guys basically how I distilled it and how I've visualized it in a way that makes sense to me, and hopefully it makes sense to you guys too. And I really spend a lot of time, just looking for answers to questions that I had um, growing up, basically. And I want to start with a little quote, and it's a quote by Jordan Peterson, and it goes, "Sanity is the concordance between you as an individual and the world." And it sounds really difficult at first, but the way that I basically, understood it is that I replace sanity with happiness. And so basically, happiness is the concordance, which basically means the connection, how similar those two things are between you, and the way that I think about it is how I think about myself and the world, which is reality. So if you translate into a sentence that makes sense to me, it basically means happiness for me is how equivalent what I tell myself I am and who I am is similar to reality. And there's a lot of things that you can distill into it. A lot of building confidence really stems and you have to build it on a foundation of truth. I think it's really hard to be confident in lies. And you see it all the time, especially in social media and other places where people seem confident, but at the end of the day, you really can't withhold the test of time. And I think if you do set your foundations on falsehood or a lie, that at one point, once you stack enough cards, it will crumble down. And so a big importance for me is that whatever I'm building, whenever I'm building confidence, whenever I'm building a skill set, I want to build it on truth. And a lot of the times that's harder because there's a lot of loopholes and a lot of trickery things you can do with lies and falsehood that may in the short term boost yourself a little bit, but in the long term it's not a strong foundation. And again, like I said, you're going to keep stacking things on top of it, and once you get high enough, once there's enough weight, the foundation becomes that much more important. And I think the people who are able to survive and thrive and be successful for a long time are the people who really have a strong foundation based on truth and being genuine, basically. And also, one thing that people don't understand is that confidence is very exponential. And it's also transferable. It compounds. What that basically means is that if it's a formula. And once you learn that formula, we'll talk about it in a second. Once you learn that formula, you're able to plug and play the different things that you want to be confident in. And a lot of it comes to becoming better and believing in yourself that you can become better, which you teach yourself and you show yourself through practice, through hard work, that is something that is capable. And I think that's very important. And knowing that it's transferable really makes it important that you find one thing, that first thing that you set as an example will be basically the blueprint for you and the formula for you that you're able to translate into different in different ventures and different adventures that you can kind of get better at. And I know it sounds a little diluted. I'm definitely, putting my thoughts together as we go. But basically, let me show you a little graph or a little visual, okay? Let's say you're learning something new, right? It could be a sport, it can be a skill, it could be pottery, it could be, being a little bit more realistic, a new job, right? And there's two ways that it can go. You try something, right? You do something, it goes well and you succeed, or you fail. There's only two ways that it can go. You can either get it right or you get it wrong. And let's talk about what you do in each category. If you fail, what do? You try again. And you try again, and when you try again, what are the two options that you can get? You can either fail again or you can succeed. Let's say, worst comes to worst, you fail again. What do? Again, you try again. And you either fail or you succeed. Let's say you try, fail, and then finally you succeed, right? What do you do when you succeed? You replicate that in a different setting. You see, and also this is where self-examination and just being able to look at yourself and kind of, observe the situation is very important, is because when you succeed, the people who are really great at something and really, shoot to the top are the people that examine, okay, I did this, I did it well, I got it, we won, or let's say you got a sale, you did this. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter the situation. Figuring out why. The biggest important key factor is why. Sometimes it's because the situation was good. Sometimes it's because of luck. Sometimes it's, I don't know, just pure randomness. And then you replicate it. You find out, why did this work out well, right? And you try it again. And then in that new scenario, you go again, and based off of what you know from that previous activity or scenario, you try. And again, there's only two outcomes. You can either fail or succeed. Let's say you succeed. Now what do? You gather more data and you say, oh, I did this worked, and I tried it again and it worked. What does that show you? It shows you that whatever little experience you have there, a little that pattern, and it's a lot of it is just pattern recognition and figuring out, like, okay, this worked here, this didn't work here. If it did work out, why did it work out? And if it didn't work out, why didn't it work out? And just being able to follow this continuously. And the most important part here is trying, because if you fail and you don't try, it ends there. But if you fail and you try again, then again, you come down to either you fail or you succeed. And then if you succeed, replicate that. If you fail, try again. And depending on what you're trying to get better at, the importance of trying again will, be different. For example, if you're trying to learn pottery and you try a technique and it works, if it doesn't work, if you don't try again and you say, maybe pottery is not for me, that's fine, I guess, because pottery is not really important to you and it's not necessary for survival. But if you're at your job, right, or if you're, if you're in a relationship, and when I say relationship, this could be between anybody. It could be with your parents, it could be with, and you try, and you stop trying. I like to say relationships are like a plant, and if you stop watering it, it will die. And if you stop trying, if both sides stop trying, that relationship is dead. No matter what it is, a friendship. You need two sides for a healthy relationship, one side for any relationship. And if both sides stop trying, you're done. That's no longer a relationship. It is just two separate individuals. And so it's really important that you try again. And when people say, keep trying, this is how I interpret it. This is what it means to me to keep trying, is that I keep, whatever skill it is, I keep going. You need to be eager to learn. And what that means is, again, even the skill of recognizing what made a certain scenario or experience successful or not is a skill. And the more that you try, again, a lot of it just comes down to repetition. If you try again, and let's say you do this example, this skill tree thing 10 times, you'll get better at recognizing each time, like, okay, this worked, this didn't work, why did it not work, why did this work? Even that, with practice, you get better at. And so it takes less time to figure out why something worked, why something didn't. And again, you can translate this into work. You try this, I don't know, let's say you tried a certain sales prompt and you got the sale, you didn't get the sale. Let's say, you're folding clothes at Old Navy. You did it one way, it looked great. One way, it didn't look great, and your manager yelled at you or something. I don't know. But try again. And When they say that you only fail when you stop trying, this is what it means. Is because if you're in the pursuit of trying again and in the pursuit of succeeding, then it's a continuous, you're on the adventure, right? And so you got to keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And one of the best ways is by looking for teachers. And what that means is find somebody that's better than you at that specific thing that you're trying to get better at, right? It could be at your work. Look for a senior person or I don't know, somebody, and see what they're doing. And again, this comes down to, that recognition and talking about, getting better at that. If you see that person and you say, hey, they did this and it worked, it worked really well. Or let's say, you could even use like bad examples. You look at one person and they keep, eating shit. Like, why are they not succeeding? You got to be able to, one of the biggest superpowers is being able to learn through other people's mistakes. And this is definitely a crucial thing. Being able to learn through other people's experiences, and some people, I know some people who they have to experience it to learn. There's a certain type of person like that, and they will make big mistakes and they'll have to learn through it. And I don't necessarily want to be that person. I'd rather see you fall and be like, oh, maybe there's a step right there or something, And I'm rambling a little bit, but that's kind of where that comes from. And there's a certain threshold of getting better, and every time you do this with any topic, any category of things, whether it be work, relationship, I don't know, a sport that you want to get better at, any skill that you want to get better at, if you follow this tree in practice, you will get better and better and better. And once you get better, there's only so much you can get better until you hit a ceiling. And once you get past that threshold, you become great at something. And that's the goal. That's the goal with everything. You want to be great at everything, but you can't be great at everything, and you gotta build it one at a time. And the way that you build it, same thing with confidence. You hit that threshold and you're great, you're confident at it because you've shown to yourself and you've proven to yourself that I can get myself from here to here through this. In between is the hardest part. Everybody knows, I guess, if you don't know where you're going, you don't have a destination. But a lot of people want to be good at something and they want to be great, they just don't know how to get there. This is how you get there. You try. You either fail or you succeed. And if you succeed, great. Figure out why you succeeded and replicate that somewhere else. And in that other place, try it again. Try it again, try it again, try it again. And a lot of the times, this is why people say you learn more through failure, is that when you fail, going back to the drawing board and figuring out, okay, I did this, I did that. Oh, okay, like that didn't work. That, if you succeeded, like I said, it could be because of pure luck. Even when you fail, it could be because of pure luck. But a lot of times when you succeed, a lot of people just take all the credit for it. And a lot of the times, there may be 4 different categories that it breaks down to as to why it succeeded. Maybe the biggest part is your skill and your experience. But again, you got to look at the other things and figure out why in this perfect scenario or in this specific scenario it worked out, and why in a different scenario it might not work out. That's also a possibility. And so in my pursuit in everything, whether it be relationships with my family, relationships with my girlfriend, my work, I want to get better at, content creation. I want to be better at, talking to people. A lot of that is just this exact formula that I use and just translated and just repeated over and over and over again until you learn. Basically, that's kind of what it is. And I'm really sad that a lot of people's first experience with learning and making mistakes is not really, a lot of people have a not so good experience at school because you're learning something you don't want to learn. But if you find something that you want to get better at and you follow this formula, and it's not my formula, this is not it's not a secret. It's just that, being able to know, like, this is what I'm doing, and this is, if I keep doing this, I'll get better. Once you know that, you've done half the job. All you have to do is put in the work. And again, that in itself is work, I guess, and I understand that's hard. But I think a lot of people get discouraged because they don't see the map. You don't know where you're going. But if you take anything from this video, I want you to learn that step 1, find something you want to get good at. Take the smallest step you can take, right, within that. Let's say you want to get better at talking to people. Start with the smallest thing. I don't know. Let's say you distill it down to sports, right? You want to get better at basketball. What do? You get as close to the rim as possible and you shoot a shot. Either it goes in or it doesn't. If it goes in, take a step back. Try the same technique. Let's say you take a step back and it doesn't go in. Try again. Try again. Try again. That's what you do when you want to get better at something, and everything else is the same exact thing. And I think a lot of people forget that that's how it is, and it's, you know, it is way harder to do something if you don't think about it this way, but this is the way you should think about it. Take a step back, shoot the ball. If it goes in, great, take another step back. Try again, try again, try again. And if you've made 3 shots, and even if it took you 17 attempts, but you took 3 shots, you have confidence in that next shot that either it will go in or it won't, and if it doesn't go in, you'll try again until it goes in. That's basically what I'm trying to show you in this video. That's the formula that I follow, right? At work, to make more money, that's anything. And again, that's what I've learned, and being able to put it from my brain onto paper is really important to me, because, you know, I still want to get better at so many different things, and I'm in the middle of that journey of trying. And, you know, a lot of the times, you know, as you add more things to this formula, you know, you'll be in the middle of something here, you'll be on the 3rd tree here, 15th tree here, 70th tree here, depending on how many attempts you give yourself and how much time you practice. And the bigger this tree gets, the better you get at something, and the more successes you stack, the more confident you are in that next attempt that it will get better and that you'll be able to succeed. And so, again, this is not something that I've created. It's more so, you know, just different things that I've learned. But if you want to build confidence, start at the smallest step possible and keep trying until you succeed. If you succeed, figure out why you succeeded. If you failed, figure out why you failed and try again. At the end of the day, regardless of if you succeed or fail, you should try again. Try again, try again, try again. And don't stop trying. This is what they mean by that. Keep trying, and the more successes you stack, the more failures you stack, the better you get at something, and the more confidence you have in yourself, because you've shown to yourself, if you're on, you know, the 18th skill tree down, in there you're gonna have successes, and the more you have, the more confident you are in yourself, because you've done it 1,000 times. And this could be a conversation, starting a conversation. This could be, you know, selling a car. Like, again, follow the same thing. And it really, again, the journey does not end until you give up. When you give up, this journey ends. But until then, there's always room to add more. And so, yeah, that's my little rant. But I'll definitely be adding more things to this. I have a lot more pages to talk about. But if you have any questions, if you have any more topics that you want me to think about, you guys got this. I'll see you guys next time.